Hey, what's up, everybody? Long time uh, no see. Haven't made a video in a few weeks. This video is about play against an opponent's pieces. So what I'm gonna do is just show you a few examples of playing against a specific piece in the game. All right, this first game I'll show you is from the Russian Championship, or Soviet Championship as it was then called, in Moscow, 1972. With the white pieces is Anatoly Karpov. And matter of fact, I'm going to show you three Karpov games in quick order because he was the master of this type of play. Petrosian also, of course. It's a prophylactic style. So with the black pieces, we had Vasily Smyslov. At this time in 1972, Karpov was probably not at his peak, but he was definitely starting, like right there. So he was definitely very strong grandmaster at the time, and rapidly, uh, you know, making his mark in chess history. This game started off e4, e5, knight of 3, knight of 6 from Smyslov. Petrov's defense. Knight takes e5, d6, knight of 3, knight takes e4, d4, bishop e7. Usually nowadays we'll see the move d5, but bishop e7 is a playable line. Bishop d3, attacking the knight, and the knight goes back to f6. h3, just preventing moves like bishop g4, for instance, and perhaps later planning on playing the move bishop f4. And then if the bishop is attacked on f4 by, say, knight h5, then the bishop has a home on h2. So basically what Karpov is doing here is just playing in a prophylactic style. He sees that he has a minimal advantage, which is consists of space on the board. As you see his pawn on d4 as opposed to Smyslov's pawn on d3, and he's just basically stopping potential activity from the black pieces. So, for instance, bishop coming to g4 and stuff, but at the same time setting up play for his own pieces. Castle, castle, and now Smyslov makes an enterprising move here, c5, and hopefully you can see that d takes c5 really won't give white too much. Maybe, just like the slightest of initiative. So that's not the most enterprising move, playing d takes c5. So Karpov, for the time being, just ignores it, and he just plays knight c3. Whereas if black takes, that would be a bad exchange for black, as he ends up with this isolated pawn on the d file, and he just simply brings the white knight to the center. So knight c6 is played. So now more pressure is put here. Of course, the idea is to provoke white into exchanging, which would, black wouldn't mind, or play a move like d5. In other words, forcing a decision from white. Rook e1 from Karpov. And of course there's some tactics here. So for instance, if Smyslov did fall for the temptation to try to win a pawn real quick, then knight b5 wins the pawn back, and Smyslov would end up with that pawn structure that he didn't want to have in the first place. So instead, Smyslov plays a6, and we can see that now there's this Benoni type feel as his pawn has advanced on c5, and we can see the oncoming pawn storm looming on the queen side. So here is an important moment in the game, and Karpov realizes the storm looming, and so although he could, play a move, a regular looking developing move like bishop f4, this might give black, some activity here, and he could try to pursue an initiative. So, for example, C takes now, and as knight b5 is prevented. I think I said knight b4 before. Knight b5 is prevented getting back this pawn. So now, after knight e2, the knight is driven off from c3, and now d5, knight d5 from black, bishop g3, and then bishop f6, solidifying this pawn here. And black has some dynamic play, so it's kind of difficult to get this pawn back. So for example, say if he just tried to come here, bishop e4, right? Unveiling the queen on the pawn now, and threatening the knight at the same time. This move, knight d7, is a good resource to have. And now, if knight f takes d4, then just simply d5, bishop f3, and then queen b6. And we can see now black is attacking 3 times on the d4 square and attacking this pawn. So the knight moves, and then bishop takes b2, rook b1. So with all of that, you can see that black gets like a dynamic game going. And this is definitely not the Karpov style. Black is not better here, but he's not worse. Okay, he has his isolated pawn situation, but he gets to be active. So these are the type of things that Karpov is thinking about during the game. That's why I said this was an important moment. If he just played a regular move like that, black could get active. And this is one of his trademarks, is being able to sense the looming possibilities of activity from the opponent many moves ahead, and then just kind of throwing a monkey wrench into it. So Karpov plays d5 because now this move attacks the knight, and it commits the pawn structure to basically a Benoni structure now, and black must take time to move this knight, and it's difficult to find a good location for the knight. Now, the natural move is to play this move, knight to b4. And let's just say, again, attacking the pawn twice. So then bishop e4, just giving up the bishop here, or being willing to give up the bishop here. And let's just say it's a natural looking move. Knight takes e4, knight takes e4, bishop f5, right? Looks natural enough, but then a3, and where's the knight going? So you can see by that variation just some of the inherent dangers of tossing the knight in on b4. It looks active, but then the knight is in danger of being stranded out there. This partly explains Smyslov's next decision. He plays the move knight a7, and knight a7 is a very provocative move because he's moving the knight on the edge of the board, and obviously he plans on getting it out of there eventually, perhaps playing b5, b4, and then perhaps being able, after bishop e7, perhaps putting the knight in on b5. But white has moves too, and this is what I'm talking about of Karpov's instinct. He just plays a4, real simple move. So now there's no b5, and there's no knight b5. So now it's already a big issue as to what's going on with this knight. And from here on out, you're going to see the play against this piece, keeping this piece contained. Just one bad move from Smyslov, Let's keep going now, and we'll speed it up a little. Bishop d7, and now the move a5 from Karpov. And now you might say, well, he's just freed the knight. Why not, this now? Well, not trading, but just simply knight a4. Because now the knight is going here. And let's just make some random moves. Say h6. And c4. And knight is in the same situation again. Has to go back to a7. Right? If c7 and knight b6. Right? These are all ugly situations. And if knight d4, then just knight takes d4. C takes d4 again, knight b6, and this pawn is gonna fall eventually. For example, rook b8, bishop c2, and then the queen will just snatch the pawn. So this is why a5 is very powerful. Rook e8, bishop f1 is just getting the bishop out of the way. h6. And now, bishop f4. This move we spoke about a long time ago when h3 was played. But now that Karpov has defined the structure, he starts attacking on the weaknesses. See, because first what he did was restrain the opponent's counterplay. And then now he starts doing his own thing. Right? He doesn't like a back and forth type of game where, okay, he's pursuing his ideas and the opponent is pursuing his ideas, and maybe the best calculator wins, the best man wins. No, Karpov liked to, in his heyday, shut down the opponent's ideas, and then he just does what he wants afterward. So he takes the time to, make sure. Okay, you want to do that pawn storm on the queen side. You want to have activity over there. Okay, so it'll take time to shut all that down. And then once he sees that it's stopped, then he just starts attacking your weaknesses. And that's what you see here now. So bishop f4, of course, typical Benoni move, attacking the weak d6 pawn. Bishop f8, rook takes, queen takes, and now bishop h2. Okay, just securing his position. He's not playing real active or nothing, because the position is pretty much stabilized to where black doesn't really have any counterplay. So white can just optimize everything, all its pieces. So after bishop h2, queen d8, and now knight d2. Okay. Now, of course, typical Benoni moves coming the c4. But in this case, knight is coming to d4. Queen c7. Now knight d4. Something must be done. You have attack here, and also the idea of doubling up the pawns over here. So knight takes. Knight takes. Now bishop to f5. Knight d2. Rook e8. c3. This is an important move, and you'll see later. Queen d8. And queen b3. So you see how c3 opened up the door for this queen to go from d1 to b3, attacking again another weakness. So basically, these queen side pawns are the weaknesses in black's position, and Karpov just steadily and methodically plays against them. Notice this knight is still not free, like still doesn't really have a place to, place to go. Okay, this is all like bad news. Let's look here. again, if he tries to just hop out, it's c4, because I know some of you are saying, well, c4, then you just jump in here. So I have to show you. So c4, knight d4, right? That looks great. But then b4, undermining the pawn chain. So the move black wants to do can't be played. And what, b6? Now rook b1. And let's see if we can make some more random type moves. I don't know. Let's say rook b8. B takes. Of course, not D takes. You know, don't hang pieces. Queen, the queen would be in trouble. So C takes. Rook takes. Queen takes, and knight takes. And you see again, can't be captured. Again, that's just a sample line, but I just want to show you that it's not like Karpov forgot about this knight. That knight is not going anywhere. Smyslov knows this too, but again, a major portion of this game revolves around this play against this piece. It's just like playing a piece down. Bishop f5, knight d2, rook e8, c3. So we went through that. Queen d8, queen b3, attacking the pawn, queen d7. And now Karpov shuts the door. Now he could have played knight c4 here, you know, but again he's playing against this piece. So he shuts the door for real now. There's none of this. Knight c8. And it's amazing because we know Smyslov's former world champion. This is 1972. So he's still, you know, very strong player at the time. It's not like he's just, you know, finished. But look how Karpov is dominating this knight. So now g4. Let's take in more space. Now he plays bishop d3. Bishop takes, queen takes. Right, that was pretty much white's best piece. Maybe next to this rook. And now Karpov has full control of the light squares. So g6. And the idea, of course, is to fianchetto this bishop. Rook b1. Typical play against Benoni structure. Again, it's playing the move the b4 advance. Bishop g7, b4. C takes, rook takes. And now that's the problem. If I mean, this is one of those scenarios that, you know, white always has, you know, an advantage here usually, because if let's just say for example, I don't know, let's make a random move. Let's go back here. Then of course you would just take. And you see now white has this passed pawn. So for instance, at the move like knight e4, of course, you know, game is practically over. But that's the dilemma black is facing. So do I allow a passed pawn, or do I allow what takes place now? Rook takes b4. So now you got a backward pawn. So now you can see the other purpose of a5. You got a backward pawn on an open file. So he would rather take his chances defending that than, you know, allowing white to get this pawn structure like that. And besides, he figures that, hey, I have this weakness, but white also has this pawn, which is backward also. So queen c7, knight b3. Of course, protecting this pawn right here. Bishop e5. Bishop takes. Rook takes. So Smyslov is defending adequately. King g2. And now g5, preventing f4. Queen d4. Now the idea of queen d4 is to support the this knight. This knight wants to go d2 and then e4. Smyslov knows that too and plays queen e7. Again, just take the time to look at this knight. The knight hasn't been able to do anything the whole game, so again, it's almost as if Smyslov's a piece down. Knight d2, rook e1, and now rook b3, rook e2. Now Karpov plays the move king f3 here, and the idea is really simple. Again, he's pretty much playing the piece down, so Karpov just wants to trade off the pieces and realize his advantage. He realizes that he has a better endgame. So rook e5, rook e3, f6, and now there you have it, knight e4 finally. And again, the idea with this knight e4 is white wants to exploit the light squares with moves like knight g3 and knight h5, sometimes knight f5. So king g7. He plays king g2. He could have played knight g3 there. Queen c7. Rook f3, the double attack here. Smyslov tries to break out with b5. Okay, right? And that's what pressure does. This knight is so bad. He tries to break out, and then after this simple a takes b6 by Karpov, Smyslov resigned here because this pawn is going to fall after, for example, queen takes b6. Okay, if queen takes b6, then queen takes b6, knight takes b6, and then knight takes d6. Okay. If knight takes b6, then simply this knight takes f6. And this is why Smyslov resigned. So that was game one, playing, watching Karpov dominate a knight in a position. This second game is from the Chess Olympiad in 1974 in Nice. And again, Karpov has the white pieces, and with black it's against Wolfgang Unzicker. So e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop b5, a6, knight f6, castles, bishop e7, rook e1, b5, bishop b3, d6, c3. So you can see everything is normal. Normal Roy. Castles h3, knight a5. This is the Chigorin variation. Bishop c2, c5, d4, queen c7. This is all well known. Knight bd2. Even at that time, knight c6, d5, which is one of White's choices. Sometimes he doesn't close the center, but it's one way to play. D5, knight d8. And from here on out, I want you to watch what happens. Watch the fate of this knight on d8. a4, attacking these advanced pawns, which of course is a major theme in the Ruy Lopez. When, because you can attack on the king side, or you can attack on the queen side. Usually, when black advances those pawns early with a6 and b5, usually at some point in the game there's some counterplay available for white to play against them. Notice with the rook being on a8 and not protected, that he now has to worry about the exchange a takes b5. This he chooses to deal with the move rook b8. So a takes, and now b4. Okay, and this is an important point in the game because strategically here the a file is very, very important in this game. Who's going to control the a file? Right now is white, and this was the purpose of those exchanges: a4, a5, excuse me, a4 exchanging on b5, and also his strategy when he closed the center with d5. Now follow that knight on d8. So now he goes to b7, right? And of course, white has no intentions on capturing on c5. So now that the queen side is kind of bottled up, we see knight f1, and now white can pursue typical Ruy Lopez themes of attacking on the king side, because where is black's counterplay going to come from if the queen side is closed and white owns the a file? Okay, capturing on b4 is a very difficult choice for black, because the pawn on a5, excuse me, the pawn on b5 will come under intense pressure with the bishop on a c2 coming, say d3, maybe queen e2, the other bishop coming to e3, and then the rook coming to c1 where the queen is. Bishop d7, bishop e3 as mentioned, and now we see the contestation of the a file by black. Rook a8, queen d2, rook fc8, and now we see the preparation to open up the c file. There it is, bishop d3. And of course, this is provocative because white would enjoy if black just closed the closed the queen side, closed the c file with the c4, because again, with all these pieces over here on the queen side, black needs open files and diagonals there to to make those piece excursions worthwhile. After all, why would you have all those pieces over there and the files and diagonals are all closed up? Again, take time to think about this knight here. So now g6, knight g3. Just to point at some analysis showed that by grandmasters at the time, actually, said the g6 was was an error due to the fact that black needed to take some more time to ensure counterplay on the against white on the a file. For instance, instead of g6, maybe a move like knight d8 with the idea of ideas of trying to, say, play queen b7, for example, and then trade off the rooks on the a file, just for an example. So g6 was played, knight g3. It's hard to blame him because, of course, g6 is a typical maneuver defense-wise for black, and as it stops the knight from coming to f5 or h5, and also he seeks to develop this bishop. But the point is that in doing these typical maneuvers, that he kind of missed what was going on in this position. So bishop f8, rook a2. You see, because what's going to happen is now white is going to be able to take over the a file. And I told you at the beginning, when we started talking about the a file, that was the most important aspect of the game. c4. This works great for Karpov. So bishop b8, excuse me, bishop b1, queen d8. So now we see that he's kind of on the right track here with this idea, maybe rook takes, etc. And then so it's kind of like you play g6, and then maybe something with the light bulb went off in his mind and said, hey, I need to trade these rooks down off the a file and get some counterplay here. But now look what Grandmaster Karpov does. One of the great quiet moves of all time in chess. bishop a7. So he just prevents him from trading the rooks now. He's like, no thanks, keep your cramped position. Again, ladies and gentlemen, note the knight on b7. So, knight e8. Now, Karpov plays bishop c2 because now that he has blocked up the, um, you know, seventh rank with his bishop and prevented the trading right here. Now he's just gonna swing the other rook over. Knight c7. Rook e1. Queen e7. So now what? Now what does black do? Black just waits. There's nothing. There's nothing to do. He's totally derived of counter chances at this point. This is like this. That's why, like I say, to me, this is my favorite chess player of to watch of all time. Is Anatoly Karpov from 1971 to about 1980, like that time periods, like 9-10 year period from like 71 to 81, 82, because these games, the level that he was on was just unbelievable. This type of moves and strategy. I mean, he was just playing, just shutting dudes down, and that that was it was like with little effort. There was no tactical explosions, piece sacks, and all that. Just position, just grinding, strong GMs down positionally. Bishop b1, bishop e8, knight e2, knight d8, knight h2, and I didn't explain what's going on. Basically, white is just preparing to play f4. He has dominance over the a file, so now he's going to create a second front. Okay, because it's still not enough to win, even though he has dominating position. So he basically has black tied up. So he's going to just create a second front, because with black's pieces cramped over here on the queen side like this, there's no way that he is in a position to withstand any secondary assault. And this is what Karpov basically sets up here. So knight d8, knight h2, bishop g7, boom, f4. f6, just desperate, trying to keep everything closed. f5, g5, bishop c2, bishop f7, and just look at the desperate position of the white pieces. Knight g3, knight b7. Hey, look who's back. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. All right, so bishop d1. Of course, you can see what's going on here is this control over the h5 square. So h6, bishop h5, queen e8, queen d1. He's just taking control of everything. Karpov is like an imperialist player. He just wants to take control of everything. He just doesn't want, one part of the board. He's taking over everything. Knight d8. Hey, there's that knight again. Rook a3. This move just drives the nails in the coffin. It's like little Zugzwang type moves. Rook a3. He's saying, hey, like, you can't do nothing. King f8. Rook 1a2. And Unzicker saying, hey, I might have a bad position, but how are you going to get me? So he's just shuffling back and forth. King g8. Knight g4. King f8. Knight e3. King g8 again. Now, bishop takes f7. Knight takes f7. Now, queen h5. Knight d8. And now, queen g6. And of course, he doesn't want to take, because he doesn't want to open that f5 square up for white. So if queen takes, f takes g6. Let's just bring this knight back, just for a sense of humor. And this knight will just go here. So after bishop f8, and you see, there's just too many weaknesses here. Let's say, I don't know, how will we protect? Let's try to protect this f pawn. You really can't protect it. I mean, you go here, you go here. So I'm trying to. Oh yeah, let's try knight e8. Some more pressure. Rook a6. Let's bring this guy back. He likes to go back and forth. And you could just do a simple move like g7 here, right? The idea is knight takes, takes, and then you just drop the knight in there and e7 check. This is why after knight h5, remember queen g6 happened, then he just shuffled the king again. This is why after knight h5, just resign. There's really no adequate defense here, especially after knight h5, f takes g6. It's the same kind of analogous variation that I showed you. The knight is coming up soon, and it's just a matter of time. Whoops. So knight h5. Again, he just gave it up. If he tries to play a move like queen f7, just trying to hold on, then black can just keep, white can just keep making moves. So that game was, to me, I don't know. That was one of the best games like I've ever looked at. And each time I look at it, I probably went over this game, I don't know, like 20 times. Like I just like this. This is one of my favorites, if not my favorite game, because of the level of players. Wolfgang Unzicker is a very strong player, and then just the domination, just the total. Just how he was able to shut him down like that, and then that knight on b7. Just how he just had that knight just tucked away, and the knight couldn't do nothing but go back and forth to d8. That was amazing. So, that was a game I enjoyed sharing with you. I'm trying to remember that there was another game I wanted to show you, but I think the video is probably getting too long, so I'll leave it at 2 videos. At 2 games. The first game is Karpov Smyslov, and the second game is Karpov Wolfgang Unzicker, 1974, and they both deal with playing against the knight. I hope you enjoyed that, and I will see you soon on the next video.